In late October of 2021, I had the absolute pleasure of traveling to Nepal for the second time to do some more hiking. I love Nepal, and yeah, they have some trails to hike. This time I was tackling EBC, Everest Base Camp. And I know what you're thinking, like, isn't that the start of a hike to do Everest? Why would you hike to a base camp? But it is a full, robust, amazing trail. You start in the lush green valleys, work up past the alpine zone until you're surrounded by glaciers and peaks and of course Everest. And just getting to see that for a moment in one's life is enough to make the trek itself. There's just so much to talk about. This trip took 2.5 weeks and I wasn't alone. You know, normally I'm hiking solo. This trip was planned. I was invited by the World Vlog Challenge and Shri, and we were actually shooting alongside a crew because there was a reality TV show thing going on, which I signed an NDA. I'm not sure how much I can talk about that, but I can for sure give you advice on the hike itself, my experience, show you the behind the scenes of shooting and editing, the upload that I did to YouTube, my silent ambient hiking video. And yeah, let's just break down everything and give you some advice if you want to go do the EBC yourself, which I highly recommend. So first, yes, hello, I'm Craig Adams. This is my New York City apartment. We've got the fireplace behind, dog crate behind me, but the dog is in the other room because she was wiling out. She always goes crazy whenever I start talking to the corner. She doesn't understand that there's a screen and a camera here, so she's like, why are you ignoring me? I'm going to bark. I want to play. What's going on? So I'll try to remember to bring her out for the very end. So stay tuned if you want the puppy reveal. First question, why? Why did I do this hike? I was invited. So this was a project that was about 2 years in the making. Long story short, I went to Nepal, did the Mardi Himal trek, made a really fun video with a white dog following me. And then when I was at the airport ready to leave Nepal, and that video was doing well on YouTube, someone noticed and invited me to have a drink. We talked, and Shri wanted to pitch this idea for a World Vlog Challenge where he would invite a bunch of influencers back to Nepal to do the Everest Base Camp Trek, to film a show about it, and then also have us compete with vlogs. I don't know, it was a crazy idea, and I just met him. But fast forward 2 years and he made it happen. Shout out to Shri and World Vlog Challenge for, I guess, making this trip possible. You invited a handful of really big other YouTubers, my mate Nate, Will, Vishaka, you know, India, USA, Nepal, Colombia, Juan, a really interesting ragtag group of influencers. I'll get more into it about like the trip up the mountain, but I was definitely the most experienced hiker out of the selection of contestants for the reality show. But yeah, there's just, oh wow, there's just so much to explain here. Of course, leaving New York was not easy for me. I've got a little tiny puppy, Sasha, and my girlfriend Mika, and you know, leaving them for 2.5 weeks was no easy feat, especially because she's working full-time from home and has to watch the dog, which can be a lot sometimes. What can I say about the trip? Connecting in Istanbul and having that coffee, Turkish coffee, is always a thing. It's very thick and muddy. A lot of flights, you know, these days it just takes a lot more energy for me to fly across the world to somewhere like Japan or Thailand. It's like always a long connection. I'm getting too old to be flying around the world like this. As far as customs and just queues and figuring your way through an airport on arrival, Kathmandu Airport's a double diamond, let me tell you. I made my way downtown, walking fast, you know, to the Marriott Courtyard. They hooked us up with a nice hotel stay, and we got to meet the other contestants and eat some Del Bhat. Man, little did I know, I was going to be seeing a lot more of this. For this project, I brought the whole kit and caboodle and even purchased a couple more drone batteries for the Mavic 2 Air S because I didn't know how much charging there would be on the trek, and I wanted to make sure I just had everything. And they informed us that this was the kind of trek where we would have our day bag, and then a duffel with everything else. And the duffel would go up the mountain from either porters or yaks or something. So yeah, everyone brought probably a bit more than they needed. And you know me, I'm used to carrying everything on my back, so it's weird for me to have someone carry stuff for me. This was Kilimanjaro all over again. I had the lightest duffel, let's just say that. The more we went through meetings, met the other contestants, and eventually production crew for the reality TV show, we started to slowly realize that this was a bigger thing than we thought. Personally, and to be honest, a couple of the other contestants thought that we would be doing our trek, vlogging and recording footage as we typically do, but then there would be like a production crew, a camera team with some sound documenting us as we went up. No, that was nothing compared to what we would be facing. And of course, a lot of these contestants were not hikers, so they hooked us up with a duffel bag full of gear, everything that we needed for the trek, so swag. The president for the big Nepal Hiking Association came through to wish us good luck. We got to meet all of the world-renowned legendary Sherpas and guides who are going to be helping us on this hike. People like Cami and Nims and Mingma, world records for Everest summits and over 18,000 meter peaks. And honestly, people who are just OP. Really OP for what we were doing, so I'm grateful for their, advice and help. It was great to meet them. My expectations for this trek, it was different because it was with a group of people, so that's different than my solo hikes. So I knew it was going to be a little slower. I can't do everything that I want. It's more of a team effort. It was going to be fun making friends and having different vloggers. I know how that is. It's like everyone shooting each other and helping each other with their videos is definitely a different vibe than me just in the woods and with my tent alone. I knew this was a long trek with some altitude, so it was going to be a slow grind with some momentum building. Not getting altitude sickness was the name of the game, so slow and steady. And then the production for the reality TV show, I didn't know what to expect. Turns out we would kind of stop every day to shoot long stretches for hours and interviews, a lot more than I expected, but I was happy to contribute. I've never done actual reality TV show, but I've done YouTube stuff for my own wedding film school channel back in the day, and I'm very used to talking on camera, so I wasn't really worried about that. The biggest thing I was focusing on was just having a nice hike, doing my tripod walk past the camera silent hiking video template style, and we're at 17,000 feet. Let's go grab the camera. Always have to walk back and grab this. So many extra miles. Oh, worth it though. Just making it to Everest Base Camp. I wanted to walk the whole way, do my thing and have a nice experience. I basically just wanted to see a yak, I don't know, maybe pet, ride, become friends, take back to New York. I don't know, typical stuff. The morning of the hike, we woke up early, checked out of our rooms. Okay, it is almost 5 a.m. Day 0, day 1, I don't know what you call this. We're gonna be boarding the flight to start our hike today. We're supposed to meet at 5 and it's like 5 minutes till. We're missing a lot of people. And I knew I'd be friends with Juan because immediately once he got here, he got some coffee and I'm like, good idea. You can leave it to the Colombian to always get the coffee. We hopped in a clown car full of influencers, made our way to the little Kathmandu airport, through security, even though Steele had this backpack with his FPV drones on the outside. And yeah, if you're going through airport security, this is probably the sketchiest thing you could be wearing. We filled up a little plane and made our way to Lukla Airport, which is a world-renowned one because it has a super short runway that is slanted. And this runway is just enough for an airplane this size. So very dangerous, but fun. Stepping off the tarmac, we had beautiful blue skies, just mountains around us. I don't think I had ever landed in an airport that had, that was in the mountains. It's in the mountains, and the end of the runway is a cliff. So interesting. Only about 3 minutes after getting off my plane, I met my first dog, Lukla. Very good dog, about a 10 out of 10, I would rate. So this is where the reality TV show kind of started. And like I said, signed an NDA, and of course they want us to like not show or talk about anything specific. The main gist is there's gonna be a lot of plot holes and just time gaps and a little confusion in my YouTube upload, my hiking film. Not too many people complained or caught on to it, but yeah, there are entire 8-hour gaps in my hiking video. I took way longer to do the hike than I normally would if I was by myself. That's because we were shooting, you know, I was on someone else's schedule. So stepping off the plane, blue skies. When I started the hike in the video, gray skies, overcast. That's because a lot of time passed. Kami, the world record holder for like 25 Everest summits, was hiking with us in this puffy yellow jacket, and it was adorable because he's famous, you know, in Nepal, worldwide. Just walking and hiking with him, people were stopping to take selfies and just shake his hand, and we would pass Everest Outlet, and he was just like on the advertisement for it. So we were little baby influencers in Kami's land. He's the big celebrity here, and it's just so funny because he's a nice guy. He's so sweet. This other dog that I met on the trail was adorable. Honestly, all the dogs were really cute.
Oh, he's a good puppy.
They're all very used to hikers. They kind of live in around the villages and the shops. I'm sure most of them have owners, but they kind of just do what they want. That's what life is like for mountain dogs. So I posted a couple TikToks of feeding, petting, and just saying hello to dogs on the trail. And so many people were confused about like who owns them or why are you touching stray dogs. It's always funny to see people's reaction. Lukla to Pha Ding was our first little trek on this day one, and it was mostly all downhill, so very easy. But it was funny to see people, the influencers, the crew, whatever, reacting to how I shoot my hiking videos. So I find a nice spot, I stop, I set up the tripod, turn on the camera, frame it, and then walk past, and people are like, what? I don't know what they're called, but we did, you know, the thing where you walk on the left side of these shrines, you spin the little things. I think I can show it, but I gave this little kid a Kit Kat as part of the show. I don't think I'm spoiling anything by showing this kid getting this Kit Kat.
A bit late out tonight. Whoa, look at this spider.
Whoa, that's a gnarly one. Look at this spider. Before we reached our destination, it got dark because we were filming things for the show. And I thought it was funny that the production crew is just in the dark. We roll up with our torches. We're like, oh, hello. They're like, would you like an egg? So we all had eggs and milk tea and continued on our way. Good morning. Might be an interesting day. I don't have any contacts or glasses, and I just have the day bag from yesterday. Our duffels haven't arrived, and I don't have anything. And I'm probably gonna have to spend the entire day not being able to see anything. Like, I can't even see the screen right now, so it's gonna be hard to hike, hard to film, hard to stumble around and not be able to see people's faces. But hey, I got porridge now, so things are looking better. Thank you so much. This looks great. Thanks. Look at this. Breakfast. Let's go. I took so many clips of this bridge, but I don't think I used any of it. It's just always funny to me when I think like I'm trying to shoot something, but it just doesn't work out, and I don't use any of it in the edit. With the production crew, we had a pretty large group. I think we were over 100. We weren't always hiking together. It was more like talent with some Sherpas and guides together, and then the other people were just like going on ahead with the yaks and the porters and whatnot. Delbot, man, it's good. I like it. And it's just a beautiful balance of everything you need: carbs, protein, fat, whatever. Yeah. So good. Here's a shot where I messed up the focus, I guess, so I didn't use that one in the edit. I don't know what day this was, but we did some shooting and it was getting dark. So by the time we reached this really famous Hillary Bridge, super long bridge. I don't think I've ever been on something like this before. It's really cool to see. It was getting dark. So I think this was like the first moment where I kind of got the green light to just go. Like I had my all trails. I knew exactly where I was going. The Sherpas and guides, they kind of got the, you know, Craig can hike vibes. So they were like, okay, go. So I just beast moded up to Namche Bazaar, made it just, you know, at sunset. But everyone else behind me was hiking in the cold and the dark for a while. I followed this dog for a hot second and reached the city. It's a crazy city, Namche Bazaar, you know, nestled right into this like little side cup of the mountain. There are no roads, so everything is brought up by beast, back, or helicopter. Man, we had gear, and seeing it all packed into this little room at the place we were staying there, it makes you realize how big of a production this is, because all the talent had their own duffel, and then there's just lights and camera and action. So much action. I got to fist bump Mingma, who is a, you know, world record holder, legendary Sherpa. I drank a lot of tea, a lot of milk tea. I'm pretty sure it was yak milk. Maybe. I don't know. It sounds fancier, right? Yak milk. I guess there's no perfect time, but yeah, I can talk about camera a little bit. So yeah, for these tripod shots, lockdown, Sony A7S Mark III. You can see the full gear kit on Lighter Pack. There's a link in the description under gear. Everything that I brought and used to shoot and hike for this project specifically there, as well as another gear kit, which is my current everything. So it's all there. You can find it. A new lens on this trip, which turned out well, a Sony 20mm f1.4 as compared to what I was using before, the Sony 16-35 f4. So more bokeh, not as wide, fixed prime lens, so it takes the, you know, the choice out of it. When I want a shot, I just point and physically move instead of zooming in or out. I'm happy that I made the choice to switch up the lens, and I think I'm gonna keep this setup, the 20mm, because, you know, when I'm outside, I want that infinite focus. So I go like f8 and then expose with the shutter, and everything's in focus and wide and beautiful and good. But when I'm inside, or it's nighttime, or something's close to me, or I'm getting product shots or something intricate, I can open up the aperture to get that nice bokeh, a nicer look, and not have to depend on the ISO quite as much for low light stuff. So best of both worlds. I did like the wide POV aspect of the 16mm, but the difference between 16 to 20 isn't that bad, so it's still wide enough. A nice breakfast of porridge, oats, 2 boiled eggs. They limited, they were like 2, no more. Will, you can't have 6 eggs, 2. And because we were such a large group, a lot of the food was catering style. It wasn't like order what you want until the very end, when people started complaining about getting the same Del Bot over and over again. When I'm hiking by myself, part of it is to go to all these different restaurants, depending on, you know, the vibe, how it looks, getting different food, sampling a wide swath, sampling a wide swath of food from the places I visit. So the catering was a little, you know, we hiked up above Namche Bazaar to shoot for the show, and then came down, spent the night, then went back up. So again, a lot of extra time, a lot of extra stuff for the show. Not my typical, let's do this hike itinerary. And when I said that I hiked 50 miles one way-ish for this hike, people were like, you mean kilometers? 50 miles would be way more than one way. And yeah, well, like if you look at trails and they say number of miles, Obviously, that's going to be not as much as you actually hike when you're zigzagging and stopping and doing all this stuff. So after I added up all of the mileage for my activities on all trails, it was over 50 miles, even though as the crow flies or as the trail app says, it was like 30. So, you know, I know what I did. You don't know what I'd done. Here's a clip of Will hiking like an absolute wildebeest. We kept calling him the pterodactyl. He looks like a pterodactyl with his pole. We reached Khumjung, which isn't on the traditional EBC route. It's just above it. Cool little weird spot. Very misty with the mountains right there. People kept telling me that that's where Yetis live. And they had a Yeti scalp in the monastery. So I went to look for it, didn't see it. But this is what it looks like. In numerous tea houses, there were like photos on the wall of footprints in the snow, like zooming in and like this is a Yeti print right here. So, Yetis. In the tea house we stayed at lived Underwear, this dog. Perfect name for this dog. The next morning was a very special morning because I got the green light to set off in the AM and hike all the way to our destination. Other people were taking other means, helicopters, to save time or something, I don't know. But I saw the route, I was like, I can crush this, let me wake up and just set off on my own. I did, and I got there before everyone else, so works out. And I got to see the national bird of Nepal. I didn't know it was. I just thought it was like a cool looking pheasant. So I was like, look at this bird. It's like a Pokemon. Coming up over Tenboche was my first view of Everest, as far as I know. It might have been in drone footage prior, but this was like on the ground. That's Everest. That little thing right there, that's the tallest mountain in the world. I made it to Pangboche. A lot of boches on this route, so it gets a little confusing. Keep up with me. And past what I thought at first were satellites, duh. But under closer inspection, I'm like, why are there kettles in the satellite? Ah, that's a clever use of like using a satellite as well as boiling water. But no, they're for boiling water, and it makes perfect sense. There's a lot of sunlight up there. The locals did a dance for us, which is a thing. I love the layers of this shot, especially this guy with his baskets being like, what is this camera doing here? And then I pass him with the underwear waving in the sky with this lens flare from a Star Trek movie.
Give me that dragon breath. Oh, dude. Dude, you're like Vape Nation right now.
Here's a little shot from set that day for the reality TV show. And hopefully I'm not giving away anything important other than the fact that they got the flags. So, flags. Me from Thailand injured herself in some way and required a horse. So here's our first views of Jack.
Style. She's got that Uber horse.
Yeah. pay per kilometer.
After some downtime in Periche, I was given the green light to go and hike ahead of the team all the way past Labuche up to Gorak Shep, which was ambitious. I was definitely skipping a day for acclimatization, and I think it was like over 10 miles of hiking with 5,000 feet of elevation gain. So a big boy day. And man, it was fun. It's so nice like being able to hike on my own at my own speed, do some tough stuff. I think there were like 1 or 2 passes that I went over. Amazing views. Eating and spending my own money on food that I want is always nice. On my way to Labuche, I ran into this guy.
Ashok from New Jersey.
Ashok from
Nice
New
to
Jersey.
meet you. You're a subscriber.
Yes, I'm. Hey, Craig, I never thought I would see you out here. Was thinking about you only a few days ago, and I was
Wow.
thinking about Marty Himal.
Did you do
What a
Everest
pleasure.
Base Camp?
We went to Everest Base Camp. We did
Wow.
and it was awesome.
Congrats, man. That's what
Thank
I'm going
you.
to try to do today.
Thank you.
Making my way up to Gorak Shep, I was getting into the realm of 17,000 feet, which is a lot. You know, the highest in the lower 48 states is Mount Whitney, which I've summited, which was over 14,000. So this was up there. I have experienced elevation before, sickness, especially with Kilimanjaro. So I feel like I was a bit more ready with getting sleep, taking my time, just not being sick and being calm and eating. So it felt great. You know, I got to Gorak Shep. I felt strong. You start to have nose issues and coughing and that usual stuff, but it wasn't too bad. Gorak Shep was the last section of civilization before Everest Base Camp. It's not too far up the trail from here. People kept telling me that the best view of Everest is up this sandy, rocky, black hill next to Gorak Shep called Patthar. And that evening I set off slowly, very slowly up its slope to get views of the setting sun on Everest, and reached an elevation of 18,000 feet, which is higher than I've ever been. So that was a new record for me. I felt fantastic. I got the shots, and yeah, nice to be alone up there as well. There was one person mountain biking, which is wow. Okay. Wow. The next morning, I woke up in Gorak Shep and had a nice little nap out in the sun, warming up, waiting for production crew to show up. As soon as I saw them start to pass me, I followed to Everest Base Camp, where they set up the next shots for the show, and touched the rock. It was a bit chaotic. As I waited there, more and more people started to show up, just general tourists. And it's not that interesting. Like I said, Patthar is definitely better views. And I would say that's the end of the trek. Go do that. But you gotta touch that little rock. Not all of the other influencers made it to this point, and personally, I can say that I was the only contestant that hiked all the way to the end of the Everest Base Camp Trek, and I hiked all the way back down to Periche, where we had helicopters coming to pick us up.
Hi! You made it before us!
Yeah, man.
Yes.
Wow.
What a beast. He walked all the way and we took like 5 minutes to reach. It took 5 hours to reach.
No, he took like an hour to reach.
An hour to reach.
We chilled for 5 hours. Nisha and look me.
You know, as much as I could, I did my own thing and did Craig hikes. But I'm on their schedule. They're in charge. They're paying for the whole thing. So I'm not going to turn down a helicopter. And walking the same way all the way back to Lukla would have been pretty much a trail run for me. And I wouldn't have recorded it. So I'm more than happy to hop in a helicopter and fly back, because it's a cool experience. This was the first time that I had ever been in a helicopter. Yeah, I've never done it before. We flew back to Lukla, spent the night, and then took a plane back to Kathmandu. And that was the end of my Everest Base Camp trek. So the video, hiking to Everest Base Camp at this point, is 2 days in, 84,000 views, which is pretty good. Very happy with how this is performing. I think this was a great trip. I collected some good footage, and for not the first time, but I just ended the video. I separated this guide from the silent hiking video, and I think it works. There's no ad placed into this video. It's just pure hiking. It's my full experience as authentically shown and shared as I can do. And there are so many ways to obviously capture, record, and share a hike like this, and this is just the way that I want to do it. So let's see what people said about it, answer some questions if we can. The new travel, that drone intro could be a standalone video. The whole thing was epic, but the first 5 minutes, whoa dude. I separated this video into 2 sections, the cinematic drone introduction, and then the rest of the video, which is on the ground, chronological hiking, the trek, the trip, doing the thing. Becky and Chris, so many dogs. Thanks for providing me with 36 minutes escape from my insane week. Love Becky and Chris. That's definitely Becky. This seems like a Becky comment. Rider Girl Vishaka was one of the contestants on the trip with me, and it was so great meeting you. Yeah, she's an Indian motorcycle girl. Brings back so many memories from when I did this hike in 2019, plus Gokyo Lakes. Yeah, so Gokyo Lakes is a hike that's kind of alongside. It might link up at some point, but it would be cool to do that as well, solo on my own at some point in the future. Probably not next year, just because I've already done this area. If I go back to Nepal next year, probably Manaslu or Annapurna area, so we'll see. Because I do plan on going back to Nepal next year, especially after getting to meet and hike with like representatives from the Nepalese tourism board and knowing all of the world famous Sherpas in that area. Yeah, I've got some friends in Nepal now, and it's very nice. I've been following this trip on your Instagram for a while. The contrast between you fooling around with the other well-known travelers on your Instagram stories and this cinematic masterpiece of a video is almost hilarious. Yeah, it was funny having so many different people from around the world on the same trip and capturing footage in their own unique way. I definitely came out of my comfort zone and started posting on TikTok, which blew up. I guess I'm a TikToker now. TikTok boy, eh? And just Will and other people giving me advice for Instagram, and yeah, just seeing all of the different people, much bigger audiences than I do. These people are in the millions. And Nate from Thailand, my mate Nate's got like 11 million subs. So yeah, just getting advice from him and seeing his perspective was mind-blowing. Ooh, my man Brian Lackey, man, this was great as usual. For some reason, I think the shot as 32:39 was my favorite in the whole video. Something about the colors and depth and the massive mountains in the background. Oh, he's talking about the mac and cheese shot. Yeah, this was shot at 1.4 aperture. We got some depth of color and distance. Yeah, I agree, that's a good one. So this is what Craig is like in a tour group. Hey, I'm fun, okay? I don't always just mope around silent. If there's people around, I'll have fun, okay? And I think that shows in the Instagram stories and whatnot. Ask anyone who was on the trip. And I am looking forward to all the group trips that I have coming up next year. It's gonna be fun. I can't wait to see you go back and summit one day. I'm not against it. It would definitely take a lot of money, sponsorship, and time. And I'm nowhere near ready, but it would be cool to summit Everest at some point in my life, you know, maybe in the future. That would be fun. I definitely couldn't shoot it my typical style, but it would be a thing to do. Have you filmed in 60 frames per second this video? Are you using S-Log or any color correction? No, I shoot 30 frames per second because I think it's hilarious to piss off people who think it's 24 frames per second or nothing. Nah, for lockdown tripod shots, I'm always cranking the shutter speed to expose anyway, so I think 30 frames per second is better. And Instagram is 30. Most things these days are 30 anyways, so it's fine. S-Log? No, I'm just shooting standard picture profile default. If you get a Sony camera, whatever it comes as, that's what I'm using. Not adding any color grading. Might do the occasional color correction, you know, raise the highlights or darken the shadows, or, you know, warm it up or cool it, but that's, you know, occasional. And sometimes I'll digital crop in, especially now with this locked 20mm. If I want to like punch in or just frame something out just on the edge, you know, I'll do a little bit of crop. And then with the drone footage, it doesn't perfectly match my Sony. So that is also shot at default, no color profiles or whatever, but it's just not as contrasty or saturated as my Sony footage is. So I just apply like a global, up the saturation a tiny bit, like 5%, increase the contrast just a tiny bit for all of those clips. And I just want it to match. I want it to look real, authentic, and to not be jarring. No changes. Not sure if it's interesting or helpful, but this is the Final Cut 10 timeline that I used for the project. You can see all of the little audio detachments from the clips so that I do all of these crossfades. The audio on a project like this when you don't have music is so important, so you have to treat the natural sound of the clips recorded in the moment as if it was music. It has to flow. It also has to change with pacing, and it needs to not be too jarring and be nice to listen to. So I'm constantly changing levels, doing crossfades, different types, different shapes for the crossfade, doing a little bit of sound design. Yeah, the deeper I get into this genre of video making, the more I enter the realm of sound design. So yeah, nothing too special about this. Once I export the video, I back that up in different places and then I delete this footage, but I've got a couple more little fun videos that I want to shoot. I already edited one montage with all of the dogs for TikTok and Reels, but I might do one for food or maybe the helicopter exit, and then I would like to do like one overview, but yeah, editing, fun, right? So that is the how to hike Everest Base Camp video. If you have any more questions, you can leave it in the comments below, but I do plan on going live for a general all-purpose Q&A on the Craig Adams podcast channel. I do those at least once a month, so you can subscribe there and tune in live to listen to that podcast and contribute. You know, it's video, audio, there's a chat, it's a whole thing. I want to once again thank the World Vlog Challenge, Shri, Shivani, the whole team. It was a massive effort to get so many influencers and cameras, Red Dragons up that mountain to do the hike, keep us safe, keep us happy, and to shoot the show. So amazing effort, a fantastic job. Can't wait to see whatever the reality show turns out to be, wherever it lands. I'm a TikToker now, so you can follow me on TikTok. It's so weird, whatever. The moment I stopped caring about TikTok, the moment it started to work, and I get it now. I like it. I don't consume TikToks too much, but it's fun to make, and there's definitely an interesting language as far as sharing content there. It's younger. It's definitely younger. I'm getting old. I'm like 30 right now, so TikTok. And this is probably the last trip that I'll do for the year. November, December, I've got a good list of little videos that I'd like to shoot. My annual favorite hiking gear video. My 4 hours of silent, relaxing hiking footage that you can work, sleep, edit to. I'm thinking about making like a drone hiking montage of the last 2 years of work all in one video. A how to hike tutorial, similar to this, but more helpful and denser and more thought out, more outlined and not rambly. A life update from the Lower East Side is an interesting idea that I've had. I want to like recap all of 2021 in one video, talk about what happened, my current thoughts, like what are my hopes and aspirations going forward into the next year, kind of like a self-diary in video form with footage and text and craziness. A video called Digital Nomad, which is like a retrospective. I did one on minimalism, thinking back on everything that happened and talking about my experience, but for digital nomadism. So maybe it's a weird video, but we'll see. Favorite hikes tier list. This is something that I should start doing. I talk about these hikes, I show them, I do the guides, but I don't really compare them to each other. So it might be interesting to every year recap that year's hikes, but also place them into a tier list of what I like. So, you know, do the ones at the top and not Big Bend. Only people who have never escaped Texas like Big Bend. I don't understand. Books that changed my life might be an interesting one. Tier list for hiking food would be fun. Tasty? Tasty. Yes, tasty. And of course, more streams on the Craig Adams podcast, streams on the Craig Adams gaming channel, game streams. I have a Twitch. Going to be playing some Satisfactory. I just bought, was it Age of Empires 4 or 5? I don't know what number it is, but it's the brand new one. $60 for a game. Whatever. I'm gonna play it live. It's Winter Craig, so those of you who know Winter Craig, damn, winter is coming, so get ready for Winter Craig 2022. And that's it. This was a long video. There's a lot of craziness here. This was better than just going live and just doing it live. So hopefully this was helpful. Hopefully it gave you a little bit more introspection on this trip. And yeah, I actually recorded a podcast with Will for his Superhuman Spotify original podcast. We talked about a lot of the nitty gritty, the drama, as well as minimalism and traveling and whatnot. So if you feel unsatisfied from this, there might be a little bit more cake to eat in Will's podcast. So, but yeah, thank you for listening, and I'll see you on the next hike. Peace out, y'all. Oh, puppy. This is Sasha. She just had her lunch, so she's very happy. What do you have to say? Okay, say goodbye. Bye-bye.